impact the real lives of real people, stop the games. And let's get something done. Thank you. I yield the floor. And I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
The senator from New Jersey.
Mr. President, I ask that the quorum call be vitiated. Mr. President, I cannot believe that we have come to the floor of the United States Senate at a time of economic hardship and recovery for millions of families, a time when jobs are scarce, the need for a skilled workforce is critical, and student loans are about to double, only to have those on the other side turn this into yet another filibuster, another capitulation to those on the far right of their party, those who are so far right that when they look back along the political spectrum can see only the small image of their hero Ronald Reagan fading in the distance. They have gone so far to the right that they can no longer see any heroes, not even their own. And so here we are, Mr. President, with our side once again debating the obvious and the other side defending the indefensible position of the far right. We are looking for common sense, reason, and fairness. We are, that is, looking to govern fairly for all. They are looking to play politics that benefit a few. We are asking to stop interest rates on student loans from doubling for 7 million Americans by closing a gaping tax loophole that those who have benefited most from this economy can drive an S-corporation through. And my Republican friends on the other side are once again saying no. They are once again attempting to govern from the extreme, once again demanding that even closing an obvious tax loophole that benefits the wealthiest is an unacceptable government intrusion, but that ending preventative care for those who are struggling with rising health costs is the best option. Can they be serious? Can we be standing in this chamber saying that the most reasonable option to prevent student loans from doubling is not common sense tax reform, but ending breast cancer screening for millions of women? Is that the view from the far right of the political spectrum? And I ask my colleagues on the other side, do you really believe that that's a fair option? Have we run through all possible options to have reached a point where we can now say that the only arrow left in the quiver is to end preventative care as we know it? Have we already ended all outrageous tax loopholes for the wealthy? Have we already ended subsidies to big oil that will make $1 trillion over the next 10 years, and yet we give them $24 billion of tax cuts? Have we ended the Bush tax cuts for the top 1% and now have no other option than to end preventative health care for women and for millions of Americans whose health depends on it? Now, unfortunately, it seems that our Republican friends have once again put partisanship in politics first. Their budget prioritized tax breaks for the wealthy over keeping college costs down for middle-class families. And only when they realized that this wouldn't play well politically did they reverse course and drop their objections to keeping student loan rates lower, because they said, no, that's not the government's role. But then they said, well, okay, we'll will climb on board with that idea, but only under certain conditions. Rather than close a special interest loophole that only a small minority of wealthy businesses can exploit, they would rather cut funding for children's vaccines, mammograms, and other critical services. This is the classic case of giving with one hand and taking with another, and all without asking the wealthiest Americans, those who have reaped the most rewards and benefited the most, particularly in tax breaks that they've received over the last almost decade, to help the country, simply to help the country at this critical time. Mr. President, if that doesn't tell you about the priorities of each party, I don't know what will. These preventative health services not only improve people's health and their lives, they also reduce the cost of health care. That's because it's a lot easier and less costly to treat illnesses when they are first detected. When women have access to affordable mammograms, their doctors will be far more likely to catch breast cancer in its early stages when it is most treatable and least expensive to cure. When we give a child a simple, inexpensive measles vaccine, we don't have to worry about expensive treatment for measles later on. When we help people quit smoking, we dramatically reduce the cost of treating that individual for a whole host of illnesses. The saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, could not be more appropriate to this debate. For a party that loves to preach about fiscal responsibility, it boggles my mind that they would fight to cut preventative care that will reduce health care costs but allow tax loopholes to stay open. Republicans decided to make a target of these programs not because of substantive issues, I would respect that, but just because, plain and simple, they were included in the President's health care bill. And as we know, as the distinguished minority leader said, it's all about defeating the President. The problem with that is it's not about the President failing, it's about the nation failing at one of its most critical times in its history. Now, they lost the health care debate in 2010, and they have spent every day since trying to refight that battle. Now Republicans will try to scare people into thinking that closing this corporate tax loophole will kill small businesses. That's the mantra we hear every time. But actually, according to Citizens for Tax Justice, they say, quote, closing this loophole will actually help most small businesses, which are currently subsidizing the minority who abuse it and avoid paying payroll taxes. Isn't that interesting? So most small businesses, they're out there meeting the economic challenge every day. They pay payroll taxes, but those who are taking advantage of this loophole do not. Seems to me we'd be giving small businesses a far better competitive advantage. Let's be clear. The vast majority of small businesses pay their fair share into Medicare. But this loophole, affectionately dubbed the Edwards-Gingrich loophole, has allowed certain professionals like former Senator John Edwards and former Speaker Newt Gingrich to avoid paying millions of dollars into the Medicare program. Technically, they weren't wrong to take advantage of this loophole. We were wrong to allow it to even be available. But enough about the details on how we pay for it. This debate is really about people, all about families struggling to pay for college. As the first person in my family to go to college, who had to rely on federal grants and loans to pay tuition, I have a first-hand appreciation of the importance of giving all students the opportunity to pursue their dreams. For students struggling to pay for college and racking up debt, this is not an academic argument. The extra $1,000 they'd have to pay each year is not theoretical money. It is the difference between being able to repay their loans and entering the workforce with good credit versus being overwhelmed by debt and going into default. Recently, I had the pleasure of having a roundtable and speaking to students from Montclair State University in my home state of New Jersey about how the interest rate would affect them. I heard from Emily Delgado, a first-generation American and the first person from her family to also go to college. She just completed her freshman year at Montclair. And despite working for the college as a student mentor, Emily will still be saddled with approximately $20,000 in debt by the time she graduates. And if she decides to go on to graduate school after that, then of course that will rise significantly. She told me she can't even bring herself to calculate how much the interest rate hike will cost her because, in her words, quote, "It will just crush my dreams." Nick Weber works 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 part-time jobs to help pay for college. And despite these 3 jobs, Nick only makes around $175 per week, which is about how much extra he'd have to pay in interest every month if we don't act now. He doesn't think that's fair, and neither do I. A student by the name of Jamie Summer, who dreams of one day becoming a professor, works part-time for the school, but her income hardly puts a dent in her debt, and she fears she won't be able to afford graduate school, won't ever realize her dream. Emily and Nick and Jamie and all the other students who are struggling to pay for college deserve to be able to realize their hopes and dreams and aspirations. And it falls to us, all of us in this chamber, to do all we can to keep those dreams alive. These students deserve our support. They deserve the common sense of a community that understands that we have to reduce the deficit, but that we cannot balance the budget on the backs of the next generation. We cannot cash in their dreams and let those with the most cash out. We need a fair solution, not political dogma. These students have worked hard. They deserve better. They're not asking for a handout. They studied hard in high school, got good grades, took out loans, and got jobs to pay for college. They're working towards a better life, doing what every parent dreams of their children, to do well, build a decent life for themselves and their family, and give something back to their community and to the economy. They epitomize everything we want our young people to be. And all they're asking in return is fairness, not a political sleight of hand that helps them with their student loans, but in the process takes away their health care. All they're asking is for us to not make it harder for them, for us to not add yet another stressor to their lives. And certainly it is our obligation to not shut down their dreams of a higher education, for it is in their dreams for a better life that the economic future of this nation will be built. We are globally challenged for the creation of a product or the delivery of a service in terms of human capital. The boundaries of mankind have largely been erased in the pursuit of human capital. So an engineer's report is done in India and sent back to for a fraction of the cost of the United States. A radiologist's report is done in Northern Ireland and read by your doctor at your local hospital. Or if you have your problem with your credit card, as I recently did, you end up with a call center in South Africa. In the pursuit of human capital for the delivery of service, we are globally challenged. For the nation to continue to be a global economic leader, it needs to be at the apex of the curve of intellect, the most highly educated generation of Americans the nation has ever had. Well, we cannot achieve that if we have students who have to forego not only their dreams, but the ability to help the nation compete globally by getting a world-class education. We owe them every chance to achieve their dreams and to help us make this another American century. Isn't that the least that we can do? And isn't the choice really clear? Let's choose closing a tax loophole that is actually creating challenges to small businesses who are paying their payroll taxes. And let's preserve the preventative health care that will improve the quality of lives of our fellow citizens and at the same time save our health system hundreds of millions of dollars. I think that choice is pretty clear. It's a choice the Senate should take clearly on behalf of our students, of our future, and of our country. And with that, Madam President, I yield the floor.
Madam President.
The senator from Oregon is recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. Earlier today, just a few minutes ago, actually, I was presiding where the senator from Minnesota is now sitting. I was listening to my colleagues speak to this issue of interest rates on student loans, and I was particularly interested in the speech of a colleague who came to the floor and said this bill, designed to prevent interest rates from doubling, is all a political show. The concept of it being a political show is difficult for me to get my hands around. Quite frankly, the President didn't set July as the date that student loans would double in cost. That date was set by legislation that was passed here in the Senate and in the House and sent to the President. It is the date, just 2 months from now, that is driving the urgency of addressing this issue. Presidential campaign or no presidential campaign. Also, it's important to recognize that this is not a debate at this moment about final adoption of a bill. It is about beginning the process of debating the bill. It is the motion to proceed. And for those unfamiliar with the Senate process, well, this is a motion that says this is an issue that, because of the urgency, should be on the floor now for us to work on. And everyone here on this chamber knows that it cannot pass without 60 votes. So as the debate unfolds, people bring amendments. Those amendments are debated. And hopefully a path is found that will produce the 60 votes necessary to send it on to the House and send it on to the President's desk. And so I differ with my colleague, a colleague actually that I've collaborated with on a number of projects. But my colleague sees this differently. He sees this issue as one of politics. I see it as one of urgent need in America for our students to have a chance to go to college with affordable financing. And that affordable financing is set to expire just a few weeks from now, and it's incumbent upon this body to take up this issue and find a pathway to prevent that from happening. I'm struck by the voices I'm hearing from Oregon. I was out doing town halls in Oregon, and people expressed this concern about the affordability of college and the doubling of interest rates. I'm receiving letters from students about this issue and from other Oregonians. This is really a kitchen table issue. This is the family sitting around the kitchen table and saying, how are we going to make things work? Is our child going to be able to go to college? Are we going to be able to afford? We can contribute a little. Hopefully our son or daughter will also get some grants, but you know they're going to have to borrow some money. And if they have a huge debt load and a really high interest rate, wow, is that going to be feasible for them? Or will they have to take a year or two off trying to find a job in a service economy, or 2 or 3 to save the money to go back, realizing that money will only buy them probably less than a quarter of school? And then what? So that's why these student loan rates are so important. It's about the opportunity for our sons and daughters to have the course in life in which they're able to pursue their dreams and realize their potential. That's what this debate is about. That's a pretty big deal. It's certainly a big deal for students in my state of Oregon, and it's a big deal for the parents, and it's a big deal for our future economy that needs to have our children here in America well-trained in order to drive the success of that economy. But here we are facing the Republican filibuster that says we don't want to talk about this issue, because that's what a motion to proceed is. Are we going to debate it, or are we going to not debate it? And my colleagues across the aisle said, no, we don't want to debate. I disagree with them. And let's hear it through the voice of some of those folks on the front line. Sermon from Multnomah County writes, Dear Senator Merkley, today I'm writing about student loan interest rates. I do not want to see these rise, even double, when legislation expires in July. Please fight to keep these loans at a low interest rate so average Americans can have a chance at an education, a better life, without crippling debt. He continues, I was just accepted to the University of Oregon's graduate program in architecture. I've applied for loans as I do not have the money to pay for this education. My husband and I will have to scrape by when I quit my job to go to school. Once I graduate and find employment, I am confident in my ability to pay back the loans, but raising interest rates would make this very difficult to do so quickly, adding $5,000 in interest to my 5-year payback plan. Please stand, she continues. Please stand with middle America, average Americans, and support legislation to extend the low interest rates on student loans. Kaylee from Polk County writes to me, Senator Merkley, I am currently a freshman in college and have taken out a substantial amount of student loans in my own name to make my goal of attaining a college degree attainable. Being 18 and having more than $20,000 in debt is scary, especially with the insecurity of today's economy. But I strongly believe that I'm making a necessary investment to not only better my own future, but that of the U.S. society as a whole, as well as generations to come. Kaylee continues, as it stands right now, a college education is something that realistically not everyone can achieve purely from an economic standpoint. And the legislation to raise interest rates on federal student loans would only make attending college all the more difficult for some. Please do myself, my peers, my future children, and their grandchildren a favor and help to keep student loan rates as they are. She concludes, help to make college more affordable for all people so more of our citizens can realize their dreams of higher education while simultaneously building a better country for future generations. Doesn't that just sum it up, her final point here? Help make college more affordable so more citizens can realize their dreams while simultaneously building a better country. I think she got right to the heart of it. Caroline in Benton County writes, I am an oncology nurse, presently working on my master's degree in nursing. Like many others, I have student debt. If we are to have an educated workforce, we must ensure that the high cost of education doesn't leave students in financial ruin. That's the end of her letter. And indeed, the fear of financial ruin from heavy debt burdens and high interest rates is a significant factor in dissuading people from pursuing higher education. Cynthia from Columbia County writes, if we expect to compete in a global marketplace, our children must have affordable access in education. Exclamation point, she puts on it. I have 2 kids in college, and the debts we are incurring are already topping $50,000. Is it right that only rich people can send their children to college? What kind of country is it where we can spend billions on, quote, independent security contractors in Iraq and Afghanistan, but not on our own children's education? She concludes, please support a plan to stop student loan interest rates from doubling this July. I want to dwell on the point she made there for a moment. We spent $120 billion in Afghanistan last year on a misguided nation building abroad while we're letting nation building at home suffer, both in terms of investment in our infrastructure and investment in education. So Cynthia wonders, what is wrong? That we are failing our children when we have billions to spend on a misguided war overseas. Alana from Multnomah County writes, I am already working to pay off my student loans now, which is hard enough. Now my family is trying to send my youngest sister to college and is finding it hard to afford, and we are in the upper middle class. If we can barely afford an education now, how will anybody be able to do so if the interest rates go up? Please support the plan to stop this. This is a critical investment in the success of our middle class. Well, I think that these folks from Oregon, Sermon and Kaylee and Caroline and Cynthia and Alana, they've pretty much hit the critical points here. And they may not know the finer points of Senate procedure, but the fact that a good portion of this chamber is voting to block having a debate consideration of this bill because the bill doesn't start in exactly the format they want to pass at the end is pretty difficult to explain. I would say to my colleagues who have come and said they don't like the bill the way it is, I ask you, Why not bring your amendment? The bill still can't pass in the end without a supermajority. Why not bring your amendment? Why not collaborate with others to bring an amendment forward? Now, there is a fundamental disagreement at the beginning on how we pay for this extension. Now, it wouldn't surprise anyone that I would say, let's end this war in Afghanistan. Let's pay a third, cutting down our deficit, a third on infrastructure, and a third on education, including keeping student loans affordable. But that's not the plan we're debating today. I'd be glad to propose that plan if some colleagues would like to join me in it and create the supermajority needed to pass this out, but I would do so as an amendment after we're on the bill, because that's the way the process works. You introduce a bill, you debate it, you amend it, and you have a final vote. And you can't get it done out of this chamber without a supermajority in the end. The bill, as introduced, says we're going to close a loophole that is a tax entitlement for the very well-off. Now, I've heard many of my colleagues across the aisle talk about entitlements for the poor. I would point out they should be equally concerned about wasteful entitlements for the best-off. In fact, they should be more concerned, because one is a fundamental safety net for those who are struggling in an economy where there are few jobs. The other is a big bonus for the best-off, who are at the very top of society. Doesn't it strike my colleagues that the safety net is better than the big bonus for the best-off? Well, my colleagues across the aisle have said, no, 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 we want the bill to start with our payment plan, which is to strip health care prevention from children and parents. I guess they weren't raised with the same story I was raised with, which is that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It is simply better to inoculate children than to hospitalize children with whooping cough. It is better to prevent measles than have children suffer with measles and be damaged by measles. It is better to manage diabetes than it is to amputate feet and provide guide dogs because folks have gone blind from diabetes. Prevention is better than cure. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So I disagree with the plan to strip prevention as a strategy when we have options. Let's take that money from nation building in Afghanistan. Let's take the money from bonus breaks for the best off in our society, those tax loophole entitlements. Let's do that, because those do not rip a big hole in the safety net for Americans. I come from a family, a working family. My father was a millwright and a mechanic, and they weren't sure how I would be able to go to college. They were determined that I would go. They raised me to believe in gaining education necessary to have opportunities in life. But they didn't have the money. And despite the fact that I worked a job in college, that wasn't enough money. And I got substantial grants, and that wasn't enough money. I had to take out loans, and I had to pay back those loans. And the interest rate matters. So I would say to my colleagues and your filibuster, come here as senators, present your amendments, debate this bill, and if you don't like the bill in the end, vote against it. But do not block this debate on an issue of fundamental importance to the success of our children. Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that William Carroll, a detailee in the Senate Help Committee Majority Education Office, be granted floor privileges for the duration of S-2343, the Stop the Student Loan Interest Rate Hike of 2012.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor. Madam President, I note the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.
Madam President.
The senator from Minnesota is recognized.
Madam President, I ask that the quorum call be vitiated and ask
Without objection, so ordered.
permission to speak for 15 minutes.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, yesterday my colleagues, our colleagues on the other side of the aisle, stopped the Senate from reducing the enormous burden of debt that students take on at a time when college is more expensive than ever. This body's inaction would increase each student's borrowing cost by about $1,000 for each year of schooling. That added $1,000 for each year of college, and that is no small amount for most American families. That's because on July 1st, the interest rate on new subsidized Stafford loans is scheduled to double from 3.4 to 6.8%. We've been talking about this all day. The students who qualify for these loans are from middle class and low-income families, and if the Senate does not act soon, we will make it even harder for them to receive the education and training that they need for jobs in a 21st century economy. High school students and adults looking for new career opportunities realize just how economically necessary it is to attend college. In my generation, if you had a high school degree, you could get a good manufacturing job that paid decent wages and gave you health care and a pension. Today, you need post-secondary training and strong computer and math skills to operate the equipment in most manufacturing facilities. But it's not just manufacturing. It's many of the fastest growing jobs in the United States. It's computer jobs and healthcare jobs. A high school diploma is simply no longer a ticket to a job that pays family supporting wages. And with an increasing number of jobs requiring some level of post-secondary training, we have a significant skills gap in Minnesota, the state that presiding member, the President, and I are proud to represent. 70% of the jobs in the next several years will require post-secondary training, yet only 40% of working-age Minnesotans currently have a post-secondary degree. Most of our states have similar skill gaps. The United States used to lead the world in the percentage of adults with a college degree. Today we're number 16. If our nation is going to prosper in a global economy and continue to grow economically, we need to provide pathways for students to attend and pay for college so that we can close those skill gaps. Now, a number of students are lucky enough that their parents can provide these pathways for them and help pay for college, but most other students have to work part-time, maybe even full-time. I had, and the presiding officer will appreciate this, I had students from the MnSCU board, or their top students who came to visit us. I'm sure they visited you too, and there are about 15 or 20 of them. They represent the Minnesota's colleges and universities, and I asked them, I said, how many of you work at least 10 hours a week while going to college? All of them. How many of you work 20 hours a week? Most of them. How many of you work 30 hours a week while going to school? A lot of them. How many of you work full-time, 40 hours a week while going to college? A number of them. That's no way to go to college. And when you work 40 hours a week, can you take the full course of credits? Maybe not. So then maybe it takes you 6 years to graduate. So they are also taking loans, and often huge loans. Now, we take it for granted these days that you can get a student loan. 50 years ago, that wasn't true. Students could get scholarships, so that was about it. My wife's family did it on Pell Grants and scholarships. At least until 1957, when the Russians launched, or the Soviets at the time, launched Sputnik. And suddenly the Soviets had nuclear weapons and were ahead of us in space. And as a nation, we were terrified. It woke our nation up to the importance of better educating Americans and getting them skills that they needed to compete with the Soviets. And that meant that more Americans would have to go to college. I was 6 when Sputnik was launched. My brother was 11, younger than the Pages, a lot younger. My parents sat us down in our living room in St. Louis Park, Minnesota, and said to us, you boys are going to study math and science so that we can beat the Soviets. I thought that was a lot of responsibility to put on a 6-year-old. But my brother and I were obedient sons, and we studied math and science, and wouldn't you know it, my parents were right, we beat the Soviets. So you're welcome. But to get there, we had to put in place new federal programs to help average Americans afford college. Just a year after Sputnik was launched, Congress passed the National Defense Education Act that helped put America back on top. This was actually the predecessor to the Perkins Loan Program and offered students low-interest loans to go to school with a preference for low-income students. This was just the beginning. Soon we gave student loans to medical students, created the Federal Work-Study Program, and in 1965 created the Guaranteed Student Loan Program. This last one was later renamed the Federal Stafford Loan Program. That's what we're talking about today, and made more money available to students to offset rising tuition. All this really because of Sputnik. Today there are two main types of federal loans. Subsidized Stafford loans are awarded based on need, and unsubsidized Stafford loans are available to all students. The overwhelming majority of subsidized loans go to students from middle and lower income families. The Federal Student Loan Program was created to open the doors of higher education to more Americans and provide them with stable, low-cost loans to pay for their education. And it originally did so to help Americans compete with the Soviet Union. Well, we may have beaten the Soviet Union, but we now face new economic threats from rising powers like China and India. And in our interconnected world in which it's easier than ever to outsource, the quality of our workforce matters more than ever before. So, with college costs increasingly out of the means of many American families, in 2007, Congress decided to help lower middle-income students by cutting the interest rates on subsidized Stafford loans. The rates declined incrementally over time to a low of 3.4% this past year. But because this program is so expensive, the 2007 legislation would sunset on July 1st of this year, and interest rates for subsidized Stafford loans would double, going back up to 6.8%. Now, allowing this to happen just doesn't make sense. Interest rates on mortgages and treasuries are far lower than they were in 2007, when no one had any inkling of the turn that our economy would take. No one could have predicted that we would be experiencing near record low interest rates, and that it would make no sense to double them now to 6.8%. And of course, the threat we face from global competition has not waned in the last 5 years. It's greater than ever. So with the July 1st deadline rapidly approaching, the time to act is now. Most high school seniors already have had to decide where they're going next year. Now they're figuring out how to pay for it. While students are wrestling with these tough decisions, it's not time for us to get in a procedural fight here in Washington. I'm hopeful that we'll vote again this week to move the bill, and that this time we'll put our differences aside and represent all the families in all of our states who can use any bit of help that we can offer them. I'm glad to hear that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle agree that we should stop the interest rate from going up, and we agree that we should be fiscally responsible and pay for it. We just disagree on how to pay for it. I'm proud to have joined a number of my colleagues in putting forward the legislation before us with a responsible, common-sense offset. Now, let me take a drink. I think we can all agree that if you're going to collect Social Security and Medicare, it's only fair that you pay in what you owe. And yet some people have found a loophole that allows them to game the system using subchapter S corporations to avoid paying some of those taxes, some of their Social Security and Medicare taxes, some of their FICA. Now, most small business owners are not only honest, but incredibly civic-minded, and so they pay all the payroll taxes that they owe. Unfortunately, a small percentage of individuals have found a loophole. If you have an S corporation, which is basically a pass-through, which means at the end of the year, the profits are passed through to you as your income. If you have that, whatever profits you make at the end are considered income by the IRS. They're income. So if you make $300,000 in 1 year, you pay income taxes on all of that. Either way, on this, you pay income taxes on all your income. Here's the loophole. You decide, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay myself an artificially low amount, $40,000, and call that my salary. And I'll pay FICA, you pay FICA on that amount so that you can qualify for Social Security later on in your life. Then at the end of the year, you get the pass-through of the other $260,000. Now, you still pay income tax on all $300,000 because it's all considered income. It's not capital gains. It's still income. So you pay income taxes on it. But because of an ambiguity in the way the law is written, you can avoid paying FICA taxes on the $260,000. Again, this money is indistinguishable from the so-called salary that you took earlier. You could have paid yourself $30,000. So it could be $270,000 that you harbor from FICA. All of this is active income you're making because of active work that you have done. It's not capital gains. So you should pay FICA taxes on all of it. There's simply no excuse for not paying FICA taxes on all of your income. Now, that's Medicare taxes on all the income and Social Security taxes on up to $110,000. That's what anyone making $300,000 would do, except for this anomaly that was accidentally written into the tax code. This is exactly the kind of loophole we should be closing. I hear all the time that we should be closing loopholes so we can keep the marginal rates down. If you can't close this loophole, you can't close any loophole. There is no reason that this loophole exists. There's no good reason for it. There's no purpose to it. And there's no reason to keep it. It's an accident that results in people avoiding their rightful obligations. So our legislation would close the loophole for those individuals making over $250,000. That's it. Governing is about making choices. And this one seems as clear as day to me. Save millions of Americans about $1,000 for each year of schooling on their college loans by closing a loophole, a tax loophole that allows the wealthiest among us to avoid paying taxes that they should pay, and avoid gaming the system. It just sounds like a no-brainer to me. Instead, a minority of senators are stopping consideration of the bill because they object to closing this loophole. Instead, they want to repeal a section of the Affordable Care Act that supports prevention efforts. They want to eliminate the provision that helps stop diabetes and other diseases before they occur, the kinds of chronic diseases that are driving our health care costs through the roof. This is simply short-sighted and, frankly, fiscally irresponsible. But I am ready to have that debate, and let's have it here. Let's debate the different ways to pay for this legislation. Let's stop this filibuster and proceed to consideration of the bill. Let's work together to keep America on top and rise to our generation's Sputnik challenge. Millions of students are depending on us. This bill will provide some relief to those students. Millions of businesses are depending on us to give them the educated workforce they need. This bill will take a small step toward helping them as well. It is time to act. I call on my colleagues to work with me to pass this important legislation. Thank you, Madam President, and I yield the floor.
Madam President.
The senator from Ohio is recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask unanimous consent to speak up for up to 10 minutes.
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President. I come to the floor to share some letters that I have received about the importance of freezing the 3.4% Stafford subsidized college loan program. It's important because there are 300,000 students in my state alone, in Ohio, some 380,000 to be more precise, who are in the Stafford subsidized loan program. Many of them will see as they continue their college education, whether it's at Sinclair Community College in Dayton or Youngstown State or Hiram College, where their costs are continuing to go up. We know the average Ohio college graduate has about $27,000, four-year college graduate has $27,000 in student loans. That's much higher than people had a decade ago or 20 years ago or 30 years ago when my generation was in college. The federally subsidized student loans have been a reliable answer for so many in my state. And so I'd like to encourage people to tell their stories. Some of my colleagues and the senator are doing this also, but I would urge people in Ohio to go to brown.senate.gov/college loan stories, brown.senate.gov/college loan stories, and tell your story about how important this is. The disappointment, Madam President, is that 5 years ago this was bipartisan. President Bush signed a bill that many of us here sponsored in both parties, in a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, but good bipartisan support signed by a Republican president to lock in for 5 years this 3.4% interest rate. If we do nothing, if we can't get our Republican colleagues to join us on this and then do the same in the House of Representatives to continue this 3.4% subsidized Stafford loan, it's going to mean that come July, the average college student will pay about $1,000 a year. We'll pay about $1,000 for each year of college, and that's just unconscionable when college student loans are such a burden. It means that people that have these student loans and at this level, simply when they get out of school, they're less likely to buy a house, less likely to start a family, less likely to start a business. So, Madam President, if people will bear with me, I'd like to read 4 or 5 of these letters that I've gotten on our website. Nick from Beaver Creek, Ohio. I'm a college student at Xavier in Cincinnati studying chemistry and biology. One day I hope through my education I might be able to make a stronger nation through innovation and technology. I'd not be able to pursue an education if it were not for student loans from the government. On behalf of the future of science in this country, I urge you to reach a bipartisan agreement that would prevent interest rates from doubling. It seems that student debt is unavoidable for the average college student. It's already an expensive investment that shapes our personal finances for the rest of our lives. I ask that you, on behalf of those who are already burdened by debt, to find a way to reach across the aisle and stop interest rates from rising. I ask that you find a way to lighten our load. We would not forget that if you did that for us. We would greatly appreciate policy that opens up avenues to higher ed for ourselves as well as for those future seekers of such an education. Justin from Cincinnati in southwest Ohio. I'm the first person in my family to attend college. I'm on track to completing my Bachelor of Science in Experimental Psychology. I plan to go straight into a PhD program, and the prospect of loan rates doubling is absolutely horrifying. I work full-time to support myself. I still have about $15,000 in student loans, and that's before graduate school and before interest rates might go to 6.8. By no means does this compare to others who have much more on loans, but allowing the interest rate to double is unacceptable and severely limits individuals such as myself. Lower tuition would boost the number of students attending college, making life better for everyone. I don't suggest that everybody should go to college. I know everybody doesn't want to go to college, but I do know that people often need a technical education or a four-year degree, a two-year degree at a community college or a technical degree or a four-year degree at a liberal arts school, a state university, a private school. The choices in my state the choices are huge. The number we have, literally dozens and dozens of small liberal arts schools and four-year and two-year community colleges and institutions of higher learning. Students should be allowed, if they choose, to be able to have access to college. Increasingly, it's more difficult for students to do that. Lori from West Jefferson, Ohio. I'm a full-time working mother of 3 teenage boys. I'm a full-time college student at Ohio Dominican University in Columbus. I currently have $40,000 in student loans. I have 1 year to go before earning my bachelor's degree. By that time, my loan amounts will be around $50,000. My oldest son, about the time I finish college, my oldest son will be beginning college, and the student loan process will begin again. He'll be the first of 3 children that we will put through college. I mean, listen to the definitive. She has decided she's going to make sure her kids get a chance to go to school right away. She didn't get a chance to go until she was older and apparently, I don't know her, but apparently married with children and has decided to go back to school and is completing her education as her children reach their teen or even mid or upper teen age. Low interest rates would help make this a little less of a financial burden for me and my family. I don't see how raising interest rates does anything but cripple those trying to better themselves. And the last couple I'll read. Linda from Centerburg, Ohio. We're grandparents of 5 grandchildren. We're middle-class constituents who live in a rural area close enough to Columbus to commute. Please do not let the interest rate for the Stafford loan increase in July. Our oldest grandchild is preparing to start college in the fall. She's 4th in her class. She shows great promise, but our children are finding that paying for college is going to stretch their budget. Please don't put a further burden on our grandchild by increasing the interest rate on the loan she may need to finance her future. These last 2 letters are interesting in that this doesn't just affect a college student. This affects the parents. It affects the grandparents. It's important that they want welfare. They just want an even shot. They just want a break here, and that's so important for this grandmother. It really is. People understand that this is going to help everybody if they get to go into college. Last one I'll mention is Carla from Steubenville in eastern Ohio, near the Ohio River. I'm very concerned about the raising of interest rates for student loans. I'm a mother in a middle-class family working to help put my sons through college. I don't expect a handout, but I've worked hard to acquire my position as a teacher. My husband and I have exhausted our savings to pay most of our sons' expenses, even with the support of subsidized and unsubsidized loans. I've put out over $80,000 into my eldest son's college. Please let's help those that help themselves. If not, then the economy is going to continue to fail. The middle class will go bankrupt just trying to pay for these kids' college. I was taught to work and you shall receive, that if you work you shall receive, but that is not true anymore. Please help the working poor. Madam President, what I take out of this more than anything is back in the 1940s and 50s, our government, from the legislation that President Roosevelt signed in 1944, the GI Bill created a whole generation of prosperity. Millions and millions of young men and women coming out of World War II were given the opportunity to go to college and build homes and get their families started. Because government, one at a time, helped these millions and millions of students, it lifted up the entire country. It lifted up the economy. We had a much more prosperous economy because all these young men and women went to college if they chose to. Millions and millions of them because of the GI Bill. It meant more colleges were built. It meant more highways were built. It meant more businesses were started after they got out of college. So this subsidized Stafford loan is the senior senator from Minnesota that's in the presiding officer this afternoon. As she knows, as we all know, that helping all of these, the hundreds of thousands in my state, 380,000 in Minnesota, more than 100,000 students. It helps these students, more than 200,000 students, the presiding officer said. It's a very educated state, Minnesota. That helping those hundreds of thousands of students in our 2 states will help our state become more prosperous. So, again, I urge I urge my colleagues to support our legislation, lock this in, do it bipartisanly. It was bipartisan 5 years ago, like the highway bill used to be bipartisan, like raising the debt limit used to be bipartisan. Please return to those days when bipartisanship around here was rewarded and it was effective. And I close, Madam President, with asking people to go to my website and tell us your story, brown.senate.gov/college loan stories, brown.senate.gov/college loan stories. Tell us your story. I'd like to share it with my colleagues because I think putting this human face on this for the student, for the parents that are struggling, even for the grandparents that care so much about the future, as most of our grandparents do, can make a real difference. Madam President, I suggest the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Akaka.